Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike P. Waworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on the Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig. It's one of my favorite days of the week. You know what day it is?
Oh, most definitely. It's Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat.
Oh, gotta love Taco Tuesday.
One of my favorites, sir. One of my favorites. There we go. Little adjustments there. I missed my mark on the first go. So here we are.
That's okay, man. We got you.
Yep.
So anyway, sir, I apologize to everybody about the show yesterday. We were having some additional problems with the internets and the Webernets and the internet gods, and but we finally, I believe, got it all fixed up, worked out, and now we're here live in color.
Live in Technicolor, bringing you the Rundown.
How was the weekend?
Let's see. I worked. I cut the grass. I worked on the aeroplane. It's a very hot. And it was okay, I guess.
Yeah, it was
was yours?
well over 100 here in Sacramento, and honestly, I think I'm kind of getting used to it because it didn't even feel that hot.
Nice. Yeah, I'm doing some acclimatization here, trying to get my heat tolerance up. I got to go do some activities where I'm outdoors for about 2 weeks, and I don't want to look like the wuss when I get there. So, I'm gonna show up and be like, man, if this keeps up, I'm gonna need a sweater. That's how I want to be in 100-degree heat. Let's see.
Better that than what in tar nations?
Yeah. Let's see what we got going out here today. Today we are currently sitting at. It is 105.
Oh, that's the feel like weather?
Yeah, that's with our heat index. Yeah.
Okay. I have not checked our heat index, but our actual temperature is 110 today.
Yep. You get that sea breeze, so it's probably less. You get that like a
I ain't nowhere near the sea, bruh. I'm an hour and a half away from the sea. Only breeze I get is from my fan and my air conditioner.
You get that sea breeze. It's closer than Ferguson, Missouri. So.
Ain't that the truth? Yes, that is true. That is so true. Anyway, sir, let's go ahead and get into the program because there's a lot of really good stuff to talk about. But you guys all know how it is. Before we do, we gotta do that thing, and that thing starts off with, quick shout out to our sponsors.
There we go. Let's say hi to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You can get AR barrels in any caliber you desire for your next AR rifle or pistol build. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWGholsters.com. Hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you want some field gear, going outdoor gear, going hunting, camping, fishing gear, whatever it may be, you can get everything except a gun at uscombatgear.com.
That's right. So, hey, y'all folks out there right now who are kind of dealing with the heat, guess what? They got all sorts of stuff to help you be cool as a cucumber while you're out in that heat over there at uscombatgear.com. So go there, check them out today. Check out all of our sponsors, and you can find them by just going to the link in the description to this program. It'll take you to their website. You'll find lots of cool stuff, stuff to support, When you do, send them some money, and make sure when you do, you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. Also want to encourage you, if you haven't already done so, please make sure to like our program, however you might partake, whether you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or Rumble or OpsLens, whether you're watching us on Twitter, however you are partaking of the program, do us a favor. Like the program and share it. Help other folks come to know about us. Let them know what's up, because, this obviously is the place to be to talk about the news of the day. All right, let's get into today's program and start to check out what we got going on here. The first story, and as I'm sure you all know, the Supreme Court came out with an additional ruling, another ruling, probably a very, very big one that has been hotly anticipated or very anticipated, and that has to do with presidential immunity. The Supreme Court ruled yesterday morning, actually, that Trump has immunity for official acts, and then returns the case to the lower courts. Let me read a little bit of this to you. It says here, the U.S. Supreme Court threw out a lower court decision that had rejected Donald Trump's bid to shield himself from federal criminal charges. The court ruled that former presidents are shielded from prosecution for, quote, official acts within their constitutional authority as opposed to private capacity. The decision came in Trump's appeal of the lower court ruling rejecting his immunity claim. The court decided the blockbuster case on the last day of its term. The case returns to the lower courts, which now must determine whether Trump's acts were official or unofficial. Now, Mike, what gets me the most about this is the way the left has literally misrepresented 100% what this ruling is. They're saying, well, this makes the president like a king. And I'm like, no, it simply says that when they're doing an official act, then, you can't second guess them. You can't just assume, like they've done with Donald Trump, that what they're doing was because they're evil and they want to overthrow America. Their goal is personal and they're trying to commit a crime. I said, and then I'm like, I was doing an interview this morning and I said, look, it's kind of like this. Like when Joe Biden went to Ukraine and threatened to withhold federal aid or foreign aid if they didn't fire a prosecutor who, by the way, happened to be investigating his son's company. Yeah, that. Yes. So what this says is you can't assume that he did that to protect his son. So he gets immunity. When Barack Obama decided he was going to drone strike American citizens, because they declared them to be, terrorists on foreign land, he could have been prosecuted. But they didn't. And the reason why Republican administrations didn't prosecute him was because the assumption was, look, you can't just go after a president and assume that what they're doing was for nefarious and illegal reasons or purposes. And the reason why the Supreme Court just now decided to do that was because just now we've started having people go after the former president of the United States, and basically engage in political persecution through prosecution.
Yeah, if this, it's absolutely amazing, Craig. It's like they had their releases ready to go. The left had their releases ready to go for weeks and months now. He's now a tyrant. He's now a king. He's now royalty. No, we're not. Well, he could just write an executive order and make himself president for life. Yeah, and then the Supreme Court would say that's illegal, and they would shoot it down. The only difference would be is that whether or not they prosecute him or not, is that official act or is that a not official act? He still has to answer to the Supreme Court. Just the same way Congress does, the same way any law is that is written or executive order that's written. This just says that when he does an official act, that there is the level of immunity to it. That means, it was done in the good of the country, and it was not done for the good of Donald Trump. That's the difference between an official act and a non-official act.
Right, and because here's the thing: what you don't want to have is a president who's like looking at every act that they take through the lens of, okay, am I going to get sued for this? And am I going to go to jail for this? That's the reason why, for example, we give law enforcement or we give politicians, a certain levels of immunity, because we're like, we want them to make the right choice. We don't necessarily want them to do things. Now, unfortunately, there are politicians who pass laws that they think are in the best interest, but they don't care whether or not they are constitutional.
Right.
My whole thing with this thing is that if he is doing something that is illegal, you cannot just assume that he's doing it illegally. You have to prove it. You have to come out with some clear, convincing evidence that, look, this is his motivation behind it. And the funny part is, and I didn't really think about this enough until this case right here. Every single crime that Donald Trump is accused of, motivation is at the heart of it. In other words, they assume motivation. And the reason why other people have not been charged with these things as crimes is because they assume, because they're Democrats, their motivations are good.
Well, we know they're good, right? They are good by any means necessary, right? We've talked about this many, many times, that they're willing to lie, cheat, lie to your face, cheat, elections away because the ends justifies the means. This now would not apply to them, right, Craig? Because that's not an official act. If they're doing something to benefit themselves and themselves only, remember, that's the difference here. Is this in the course of my duties to benefit all, or is this something that benefits myself? That's if President Trump, we know he ordered the killing of al-Baghdadi, right? If he had pulled the trigger himself, this covers him because he was carrying out the will of the nation, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if on the way there he goes, I'm going to kill a clerk at a convenience store also, that wouldn't count. Okay, that's not covered. Okay, that was something he wanted to do. Just because he was president doesn't mean he gets immunity for that.
Well, and the fact that people act like this is all something brand new, no, it was a given until, once again, Democrats who either are part of this administration or who are affiliated with this administration decided that no, they were going to start prosecuting the president simply because they had the right to assume that he was engaged in nefarious illegal acts.
Right, and for those that have studied any of the political history, President Nixon was in his second term when Watergate occurred, all right? And then there were allegations that he ordered the infiltration of the Watergate Hotel, where the Democrat national headquarters was, to find out what their policies and strategies were. Because remember, folks, everything back then used to be on paper. There was no internet for things to sit and to hack into. They found that there was a crime occurred. They brought it up to the president. The vice president resigned, and then the president resigned. From that, we do have a couple of cases. We have Barlow versus the United States, right, which ended up in higher level officials getting immunity and qualified immunity, right? Mm-hmm. But when the president resigned, you guess what they did? Guess what the opposite party did at the time? They said, "Done, enough. We're not going forward. This is ended. We need to heal our country. We need to bring us back together as one." And that's what they did. They allowed it to go. Much the same way President Trump did after he said Hillary would be in jail. He left that alone and never went after it because he tried to heal the country, as opposed to the current Democrat Party, which believes the only way they can have victory is to lock all their political opponents away in jail.
Well, exactly. And, once again, if you want to talk about political prosecutions, keep in mind, the folks from this administration that have gone to jail, first of all, none of them have gone to jail for crimes committed as a part of the administration, for anything having to do with elections or anything like that. In fact, overwhelmingly, it was because they either refused to participate in the sham investigation, or they were trapped into providing two different stories. And if you're deemed with lying to a federal officer, that is a crime punishable by jail time. So, but those are the only people that have been convicted within. But once again, like when you start talking about contempt of Congress, which is what Bannon is now serving 4 months for, there are a number of Democrat officials who've been held in contempt of Congress, and the Department of Justice has never prosecuted one of them. And yet still, here we are, once again, locking up political opponents, and they seem to think that's all right.
Right. Now, listen, I brought up President Nixon as an example because his staff went to the Supreme Court under the Harlow case, and they got the immunity. It did not apply to President Nixon because he resigned, and nobody pressed any issues on it. If he had said, no, I'm not resigning, or the opposition party, Democrat Party back then, had pressed it, it would have. So this is the same ruling we have now that we would have had back then if they had gone after a former president, but they chose not to back then. But we did get out of the rulings 50 years ago, the immunity and qualified immunities and limited immunities of other officials in the administration.
Well, and people knew back then that it would create the sort of division that we're looking at now. And you know, it is very difficult. And it's funny. Every poll that they've done has shown that somewhere near 60% of people believe, whether or not they believe Trump actually committed a crime, they believe that the prosecution, him being prosecuted, is political.
Yes.
And that should never be the case.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, but that should not be the case. Anyway.
Correct.
Anyway, it's gonna be interesting. Just keep an eye on the fallout. It's gonna be all fun. Just watching them once again have a conniption, because literally between Friday and the decisions on Friday and the decision yesterday, they have lost their ever-loving minds. They have no faith in the criminal justice system. The Supreme Court is now. I'm telling you, they're gonna if they were to by some chance get a majority in the Senate and the House and win the president, they're going to try and overturn and they're going to try and pack the court. They're going to try and add term limits to the court. They're going to try and add more justices. It's going to be crazy.
True. And then the court would come back and say that's unconstitutional.
Well, there you go. All right, moving right along. A wave of migrant crime engulfing the U.S. That's right. And just so you know, I prefer to call it illegal immigrant crime. But you know, Breitbart has now decided that they're going to buy into the utilization of the word. So I'm just using their title. It says, wave of migrant crime engulfing the U.S. And this is something that the left will not tell you about. They're telling you, according to them, crime is down everywhere. There's no problems, no issues. These are all law-abiding citizens who just want to come here and live the American dream. Well, not so much. It says here, a wave of serious migrant crime continues to sweep across America as President Joe Biden and his surrogates defend the wide-open border policies, drawing millions of aliens to cascade unvetted across our borders. American citizens and their children are being stolen from, beaten, raped, and murdered by illegals in every corner of the country, even as millions of illegal immigrants gobble up federal and state welfare dollars for free housing, free health care, food, clothing, education, legal services, and more. Here are just a few examples of the crime against America. Retail theft rings, migrant. I'm not even going to go into a lot of it. So you got retail theft rings that they're pointing out here. You've got, okay, is that the only one? Then you've got pickpocket rings. You've got sexual assault. We've got murders. Murder. I didn't even have to say that you got murders. I mean, you got all of these cases, Mike. And here, throughout the article here in Breitbart, they're pointing out all of the situations. They're pointing out all of the instances. And they're tying, once again, it's funny because you have the Biden administration saying, well, you know, Americans are doing this too. And I'm like, but keep in mind, every single theft, every single robbery, every single rape, every single murder that is committed by someone who came across our southern border illegally wouldn't have happened if they weren't allowed to just walk into our country.
It's your fault, Joe. It's your fault, the Democrat administration. It's your fault that all these crimes occur. Craig just said it. Would there be other crimes going on? Absolutely, would there be other crimes going on? We still have to deal with them internally. But there'd be our crimes internally. We wouldn't have to worry about foreigners walking across the border, illegal immigrants, I'll say it, Craig, illegal immigrants walking across the border, committing crimes, knowing that they could just scurry back across them and not have to worry about it again. It's ridiculous that we have to put up with this. It's ridiculous that this is even an issue. that we have illegals in this country committing crimes. And when they talk about putting up a wall, I put up the wall, Craig, and let's put up a giant trebuchet and launch these people back over the wall. That's the way we deal with them. At about 400 feet per second and about 500 feet long. That's how we get rid of them.
There you go.
A giant catapult. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And it is, I just think it's funny. It's like they're acting like, well, you know what? That girl probably would have been raped by an American if there wasn't an illegal. They're doing jobs Americans won't do. No, first their argument is they'd be raped by an American if that illegal wasn't there. No, they probably wouldn't. Oh, so you're saying that illegals are doing jobs Americans won't do?
Yeah. So you're saying she had it coming, is what you're saying.
That's what they're pretty much saying. That's exactly what they're saying. And once again, it is the out and outright lies that they are telling. And once again, I am wholly willing to admit that the other than breaking the law by entering our country illegally, most of those folks who've come into the country are not here to quote unquote, rape, pillage, rob, and steal. I'm willing to admit that. But if just 1% of them are here to do that, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, right? You're talking about almost 100,000 people who are here to rape, murder, and steal from us. And that's not acceptable.
Wait, let me think about it. You're right, not acceptable. I'll go with that's what I'm going with. Not acceptable. I mean, come on, folks. 100,000 criminals that have come across. If we know we've got this many millions of people, you do the percentages, you do the math. At a minimum, that's there. Oh, and by the way, I've already committed these other illegal offenses at home. Now I come across here. What difference does it make committing another? Oh, wait, even more. Now I'm illegally in this country. I have no other crimes at home, but I'm illegally a criminal here now. So when they try to catch me, guess what I'm going to do? Break more laws to not get caught. Okay? If your only crime is coming across into this country as an illegal immigrant, they are now predisposed to commit more crimes because they don't want to be caught and sent home.
Yep. They're more likely by the way, to just be released. No bail, no nothing. You commit a crime. Here's a ticket. We'll see you in court. Welcome to America. And here's what's even worse about it, Mike. It's not like they're just coming across the border, but you've got a president of the United States. You got the Biden administration actually flying them in. And by the way, he's not just flying them in. I mean, talking about undoing the work of Donald Trump, he's actually flying in folks who have actually been deported by Donald Trump. This is a report out of the Washington Free Beacon. It says here, Biden administration flying migrants deported by Trump back into the U.S. The Biden administration is flying previously deported Cameroonians whose asylum claims were determined to be invalid back into the United States, according to interviews with Immigration and Customs Enforcement staff. An internal agency memo reviewed by the Washington Free Beacon. The program, which has not been announced to the public, appears to be a response to a February 2022 Human Rights Watch report about dozens of Cameroonians deported between 2019 and 2021 and then allegedly mistreated by their government. An estimated 80 to 90 Cameroonians were deported during that time period. But now some are arriving back in the United States under a program with little precedent, both current and former ICE officials say. All of the individuals deported under the previous administration were found not to have valid asylum claims in the United States. So in other words, you set up this asylum system and then then someone doesn't qualify for asylum, you boot them out, and he lets them back in.
Yeah. Craig, what were we talking about earlier? Where we don't care what the law is. We're going to do what we want because we believe the ends justifies the means. And that's exactly what they're doing, ignoring the laws that they wrote to say, well, Trump did this, so we'll write these laws to get rid of that. And then they can't even meet their own standards, so they continue to break them. They're breaking their own laws so they can their ends justify their means. It's what they need. They need them here. They need them here, suckling off the teat of America, making us more poor, so we're more dependent upon the government. We need them here so they can vote for the Democrat Party that's going to hand them checks.
Right. The problem, though, that they're finding is that a lot of these folks, once they become citizens, are not voting their way. In fact, you look at a poll, and you look at polls, and like people who've migrated, in particular who've migrated here legally, they support closing the border. They support remain in Mexico, because they know and they recognize they went through a process that took them a while, but they did it and they did it right. And it's not fair to let people just skip in front of the line. And it's not safe to Americans, to people who live here, especially the people who have been raped, who've been robbed, who've been murdered by those who have come across the southern border, because the vetting of those who've come across our southern border has been so sad.
That's right. That's right.
So
you are correct, sir. You are correct.
Appreciate that. Now, one of the things that was oddly missing from this presidential debate, and it was weird because it's like I can't remember a presidential debate where the Second Amendment was not part of the discussion. Well, in this particular case, it wasn't. There was no mention of the Second Amendment, of guns, gun rights, gun control in the debate. And Tom Knighton, our good friend over at Bearing Arms, actually wrote a piece, "Why Were Guns Absent During the Presidential Debate?" And he says here, when Surgeon General Vivek Murthy declared so-called gun violence to be a public health emergency so close to debate, I figured he was trying to set the stage for President Joe Biden to swoop in and make a stand on an issue Democrats really seem to think they can win on. Then it didn't happen. Truth be told, there was a lot going on in the debate, with a lot of Democrats now looking to pressure the president to withdraw from the race and have the convention pick the new candidates. And that would probably be wise, but there wasn't any real discussion about gun control. Yep, I got that one wrong. Anyway, here it says, Mark Chestnut from Truth About Guns has a theory. It says, call me cynical, but I believe that was by design. CNN, which hosted the debate, is a media standard bearer for all things gun control. In fact, the network hasn't seen a restrictive gun proposal that it hasn't embraced. And both Biden and Trump have spoken out often on the matter, just like they have on other issues, leaving little doubt where they stand on the right to bear arms. So why weren't any questions asked on this issue that is so important to so many American citizens? I believe it's because CNN and others in the gun ban community know they are on the wrong side of the issue. And with Biden administration's mental capacity, the network and whoever helped it choose the questions for the debate were simply afraid of what ignorant things the president might say about firearms. I think there's something to that argument. Clearly, the president has, if there's an area where he has made statements that are wholly and patently not true, it's in regards to firearms. And I think he's right. I think they're right. They're afraid that the president just wasn't in a place where he was going to be able to effectively, in their eyes, argue this one. Now, in my eyes, I also believe that the Second Amendment is primarily of issue and primarily important to those who support the Second Amendment. And I think to a certain degree, they didn't want to give Second Amendment advocates a reason to turn out in even greater numbers.
So, I don't disagree with you, Craig. I think it might even be simpler than that. Clearly, and I think everybody in the whole country saw the mental state of the president and the decline that he has. And whether it happens to be he's getting old, he's got Alzheimer's, whatever it happens to be, when when you start to lose your cognitive function, one of the things that goes quickly is names, Craig, names, numbers, and acronyms. Okay, and try and discuss the Second Amendment without using names, numbers, or acronyms. It's impossible to do. So I think they just steered him away from it so he can get up there and talk about the AFT with the AR-14s. I think that's why they really had him stay away from it. Why didn't Donald Trump bring it up? I mean, how many times can you punch a baby in the face? I mean, he was clearly beating him down. And what was the purpose of bringing it up again?
Because I mean, could you imagine Joe Biden talking about? Imagine the old guy with the gun. Yeah, well, you really don't need that rifle. You just take a shotgun and shoot it into the air, and or shoot it through the door, and they'll leave.
People have tried to use that defense, and it's been proven to be illegal. They can't do that. I just think that they did not allow him to speak on it. He would have been up there, like I said, talking AR-15s and the AFT, and it would have been embarrassing. And
AR-14s.
Craig, he's going to lie about anything anyway, whether or not he sees himself as anti-gun or pro-gun. I mean, he stood up there and lied and said the Border Patrol Union was for him. I mean, the debate wasn't even over, and they were going, "No, we're not. No, absolutely not. No, never before, and never will." So
I will say this, and there was a little bit. I don't know if you saw. There was a little bit of a slip where one of the surrogates was being interviewed, and she talked about how he was prepared for the questions. Now, part of me is like, well, I think that there were no shocking questions that were asked. Having said that, I have to say I would not be surprised if they actually did give the Biden camp the actual questions ahead of time.
I'd be okay. I'll go with that. I'll let you have that.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me one bit. All right, folks. Well, that is going to bring us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. All right, today we're going to go to the Babylon Bee, and the Babylon Bee has an interesting list. And I know you guys like lists. We like lists. Everybody likes a good list. And, the Babylon Bee is actually pretty darn good at them. 13 things Trump is now allowed to do after the Supreme Court immunity ruling. We're starting here. Number 1, he gets to leave the seat up. Feminists in particular are reportedly outraged over this. Number 2, leave his tray table down and keep his seat in the inclined position when the plane is making its final descent. Long thought to be the one rule everyone must follow, Trump is apparently exempt. Number 3, claim the front seat without calling shotgun. No, I'm sorry, I do not believe this. I do not believe that it grants him that ability. But hey, evidently the Babylon Bee does. Leave his shopping cart in the parking lot without returning it to the corral. Well, everyone kind of has that right, don't they, Mike?
Only if they think they're royalty.
Only if they think they're royalty. There you go. Okay. Go back for seconds before everyone else has finished their firsts.
That's just a foul. That's a party foul.
That's a party foul. There you go. Okay. Driving the carpool lane by himself. I think he definitely is immune from that one.
Yeah. I think he's good there.
Wait, I like this one over here. This one story over here in the corner. Democrats convinced Biden he's already stepped down yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that was hilarious.
Yep.
All right, let's see here. I'll read a couple more. Put milk carton back in the fridge even after it only has a tiny splash of milk left. I'm sorry, that's a capital offense. Isn't that? That's a capital crime, isn't it?
Hey, if there's milk in it, I'm putting it back in the fridge, baby.
Go swimming without waiting 30 minutes after eating. I don't think he's ever done that, but it's good to know that now that it's legal. Double dip his chips. Ignore the height limit on the Chick-fil-A place.
Yep.
Rebroadcast a baseball game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. I'm all for that one. But yeah, these are all the evil crimes that he is now capable of engaging in now that the immunity ruling has come down.
Nobody's watching baseball, so it doesn't matter.
All right, folks, well, that's going to be it almost for today's program. But before we go, let's give another quick shout out to our sponsors.
Hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. Get over there and get yourself some AR barrels, some barrels for any caliber, any length, pistols, rifles, whatever you need for your next build or rebarrel your current platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting that good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can help California's future today. And of course, if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, hunting gear, whatever it may be, you can get everything except the gun at uscombatgear.com.
That's right. Once again, folks, please take a moment, visit our sponsors, and when you do, let them know that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. And with that, we're going to call it a day. But we will be back. We'll be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Till then, y'all take care, stay safe, and if you get a chance, send a few downrange. We'll holler at you later.
We dance out.